All right. All right. What's happening? Good to see you guys all in here on a Sunday night. I know it's a late scheduled show. Probably won't have a lot of people in tonight. But I at least wanted to come in and just kind of touch base a little bit on what happened over the weekend. Starting on Thursday night, the Detroit Lions started this draft off with a bang, man. I am super excited to see how this team is about to transform here in 2024. You'll have to excuse me because I've been running around like crazy. I literally just got home a couple of hours ago, and I figured it was going to take me right up until 8 o'clock to be able to get ready to go and get a thumbnail out and everything else and get everything hooked back up. And hopefully we have audio this time. I think we got that fixed this time. I assume you guys can hear me. What's happening, man? We had some good calls this weekend. We got a couple right. I called Steely Chambers there at the end in the sixth round when I said I expected the Lions to pick him up, and they did. They picked him up as a UDFA. Super smart signing. I think that guy's going to work out just fine. So I'm going to get some information pulled up here. I haven't done any prep. It's truly off the cuff tonight. We might try to open up the phone lines. It wasn't working the greatest last time, and I'm not real sure why. It could have been a little hot there. It might have been a little loud. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. So what's happening? We got King SJ in the house. Yep, good draft weekend. Cool interview with Billy Sims this morning. Yeah, it was great, man. It was awesome to get to, take 15 with Billy Sims and just kind of kick it. I mean, obviously we talked a lot before and after, and he was doing a lot of autographs today, had a lot of fans there today. So I tried not to chew up too much of his time, but the goal is to have him on a few times a year. That's the goal. And we're going to try to work something out. So I'll be in touch with his camp, and we'll keep on, keep working on it. Right. And seeing how we can figure some of these things out. Turned up tailgates, is going to happen this year. That's going to be another channel or another style of content. And I see an idea there with Billy Sims Barbecue. I think that would be a great opportunity to do some cross promotions there. I think it'd be fun. So we'll see how it goes. Is Better the Hunt in? Is he in tonight? Because I got a package and I wanted to open it on the next live, but I don't know if he's going to be in tonight. Let me pull up some information here. You should try to get an NFL scout on the podcast. I mean, I'm a rookie greenhorn scout, and I did have a scout, Adam Aniba, on a couple weeks ago, or I'm sorry, about a month and a half ago. Actually, by now it's been at least 6 weeks, I think. But I'm training to be a scout. I'm in a program where I get to learn everything that they do. It is the legit NFL program. There's a lot of different programs, and I joined one. It's going to take a minute, though. There's a lot of lingo that I don't know. A lot of different things that they say that I say just in my own way. So I've got to learn the lingo, man. There are so many different words that they use that really describe things really well, but it can be said a different way too, I guess. Josh Jackson says, this year was the most disconnected I've been about the draft. I was pretty familiar with everyone from the first and second rounds, but that was about it. With that being said, we got two great corners. I hear you, man. I hear you with being disconnected because this was an odd draft. It really was. And I think by watching the first round and what happened there, the first 17 picks, I think that kind of gave you your story, line for the draft. It was going to be more offense in the beginning and then defense on the back end. And there was some high grades on these guys. But I tell you, man, taking 6 quarterbacks that early completely blew up this draft. And you know what? It helped the Lions. So I'm good with it. I would rather be wrong and the Lions do well than be right and the Lions don't get the players that they need, that they want. Decker, yeah, it was cool, man. So I met Billy last year. It's funny, as I got talking today to Jeff, who is CEO, I believe, of Billy Sims Barbecue. As we got to talking, we actually have some things in common and some people in common, like Jimmy Houston, professional bass fisherman. I fished with him and did a couple of things with him about 10 years ago now. So we kind of had that in common. We were talking how we started talking about pecan wood and barbecue in pecan wood. And I asked him, I said, man, it smells like pecan. You using pecan? He's like, yeah. And I said, have they ever used the shells or anything? It's like, I know a guy that's got like this giant 1,000-acre ranch in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. His name is Jimmy Houston. He's like, no way, I know that guy. It'd be off on a huge tangent, but he used to do some pro sports, stuff like sports store stuff. So it's just kind of weird how things kind of intertwine. So great conversations today. It's got me thinking about wanting to do a franchised restaurant. To be honest with you, I think that'd be kind of fun. Lions fan 7-6 in the house. Mike P in the house. Ornery U of M dad in the house. Precision Staining. We got the Bulge Army showing up here. We got Decker Pecker here. Lane Peterson. Rob Newsom. Travis Marshman. Steve K. Salty Pork Chops. Ben Foster. Says, I'm great draft. I'm stoked over Arnold. That was my guy this draft. It's awesome when you get your guy. It really is. It sucks when you don't. Steve K, UDFAs are interesting. They are. We finally got a kicker, from what I hear. Donkey Kong, as usual, says Super Bowl or bust every time. Tracy's in the house, of course. I don't see Randy. I hate to open this without him. Shadow Viper's in here. And if I missed you guys, I don't do it by purpose. So let me walk this back for a minute. And then I don't know if I'll do a receipts video, but I do all that stuff for fun, right? I like to keep some tabs on some things that I do, right, wrong, or indifferent. But if you guys didn't hear this morning, so the plan for this wall over here, not behind me, but the old wall that was the corner, we've got this giant whiteboard, and there's a few of them actually that we have. So it's like the size of a 3x5 or a 4x5 or 4x6, whatever. It is going to go on the wall. And you heard Brad Holmes talking about vertical and horizontal draft boards and how they align everything. I'm going to do the same thing this next year. So I'll probably start late fall, halfway through the season, assembling it, putting it together, because I want to leave an area open that we can do X's and O's. So I'm going to have a separate camera view set up just on this area, because the new area is going to be over here for this setup. And that way we'll be able to switch cameras and come over and talk X's and O's, right? We'll draw up plays. We'll talk about what went wrong in a game, what went right, and just talk, just football stuff. And Football 101 is what I wanted to start last year, which is, it's kind of boring stuff, but it teaches people that don't know anything about it, football, about football. And for some of us that have forgotten some certain things, it re-energizes our mind and our intelligence of football. So it kind of helps everyone, from the bottom to the top and everywhere in between to learn about football. So Football 101 is going to be a crash course into the NFL and football as a whole. And we're going to take a lot of that information from the NFL. They have a great site that they put together a long time ago that I don't think anybody knows about. So I'm going to take a lot of information from there and then bring in some guests, of course, to talk about certain topics. So that's going to be part of it. And then utilizing the whiteboard and then having a couch set up. And we're going to have like different segments that we're trying to put together. I think Eric Rintamaki is going to be involved in some of this stuff and helping out, to develop some of these segments and what we're trying to do and pull together. I think it's going to be fun. I would love to be able to draw on the screen, J-Rod. I would love to. I don't know how to do that. I don't. I might have to get another Apple product. I mean, I have an Apple iPad, but there might be some program or something I could get. But I think that would be kind of cool too. I just don't know how to do it. Braylon Dennis is in the house. He says they're edge rusher UD. Braylon's got to be pissed. No edge rushers until the UDFAs. All right. So let's address this whole corner thing first. I think the obvious. So some people, you listen to things, and then it kind of puts you into like one track mind mode. Well, this person said we need an edge rusher, and this person said we needed a defensive end, and then this person said we kind of need one or the other, and then this person said defensive tackle is the way to the quarterback. That's me. And and this person, so you listen to different people, and they all kind of give you a different perspective. And if you don't make up your own perspective, like, really kind of drill it down and look at it, listen to it all, and then compile, your own opinion on what we really need, you kind of get into one track mind mode, like defensive end or bust, like Donkey Kong, Super Bowl or bust. It's defensive end or edge rusher or bust. And if we don't, then this team's a failure. That's what some people believed. But you have to look at the other side of this too. And I'm not just saying this because I got a few things right here. I said in the offseason that Brad Holmes is going to attack corner and defensive tackle, and that's what he did. And then in the draft, I said he's probably going to continue building the back end of the defense, but I would love to get an edge rusher. I even mocked an edge rusher to us in the beginning, but a couple weeks before that, I was high on this Terrion Arnold trade-up situation. Never thought in any world that Terrion Arnold was going to slip to 24. Like that's just nuts. So be that as it may, here's what I'm going to say. You fix the back end of your D, even if you have average to above average guys on the defensive line, they are going to elevate their game big time because they're going to have more time to work, and the quarterback really has less time. I know it doesn't make any sense, right? They have more time to work, but the quarterback has less time. What I mean by that is if the defensive backs are able to stay sticky for longer than 2.7, 2.8 seconds, 3 is the key, the quarterback's not going to get the ball out because he's going to get hit. There is no way an offense is going to be able to guard Aiden Hutchinson, Ali McNeil when healthy, DJ Reader when healthy, Marcus Davenport when healthy and playing like himself in 2021, parts of 2022. And we don't know about the rest, but James Houston when healthy is a problem, literally the problem. We have plenty of guys that can make plays. And the one thing that we didn't see last year was a lot of the linebacker blitzes. Now we saw some of Anzalone, but we didn't see enough. And I felt like that's because AG was not comfortable leaving the middle of the field wide open with the defensive backs that we had. We were stuck into a couple of schemes, which made our defense, I feel, kind of two-dimensional, not necessarily one-dimensional, but two-dimensional. We stopped the run really well, but if you get past, the defensive line as a running back, an outlet pass, a tight end, someone coming over the middle where we got killed all season long, there was your outlet, your dump off, your screen pass, your slant, your quick ins, quick outs, all of that stuff hurt us because we didn't have any defensive backs outside of Brian Branch that could stick with somebody and drive him into the ground as soon as they touch the ball. Brian Branch had like the least yak yards of any DB this season. So now you fix the back end of the defense. These receivers aren't going to be able to go anywhere. They're just going to be running around trying to get free, and the quarterback's going to have to make a decision. He's going to, drop back and set, thinking he's going to get the ball out, and he's going to go 1, 2, 3. If there's a fourth, 4, shoot, nobody's open. I got to move. And then he's going to move. Which direction are you going to go? You going to go towards Aiden? Are you going to go towards Reader? Oh, and now you got Mekhi Wingo, who can also rush off the edge. I think we're fine. But we're forgetting about Jack Campbell. Like, Jack Campbell was pretty damn good as a pass rushing linebacker. He's pretty darn good in coverage too. So we have options. We have a lot of options on this defense that are going to give us plays up front to sack the quarterback. All right, let me get to some of the bang right there. J-Rod 335 man nickel. So we couldn't play a lot of that last year. We played nickel packages, right? 3-4, 4-2-6. But we didn't have any heavy dime packages in that you can get really fast in the back end. Fast meaning you got extra DBs in now. They can rush the quarterback. You don't necessarily need a defensive end or an outside linebacker, edge rusher to rush the quarterback. You can use your nickel. You can use your safety. You can use Ennis Rakestraw, Terrion Arnold, Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, which Amik actually does really well rushing the quarterback. You have all of those options at your disposal. Now, when you have a Terrion Arnold, who is probably going to be a starter this year, I'm projecting that he will be as long as he stays healthy. And then you have guys like Amik Robertson and Carlton Davis that can handle their own business. You don't have to worry about them. And you have some really good safeties on this team. You don't have to worry about them. So now you can be free to draw up a few extra things, a few things that we couldn't implement last year. It's almost like AG took like half the playbook out and threw it away. That's what it looked like to me last year. We got really simple on defense, and that's where offenses were able to just pick us apart. We were too simple. But sometimes when you don't have the players that you need, or you have too many injuries, which means you don't have the players on the field, you got to dumb it down a little bit, and you got rookies that you're playing. We've been playing rookies every year the last 3 years. So 2021, we really seen what rookies on the field did. But even last year, I mean, Jack Campbell had his moments, but he also had some other moments that were not so good. At the end of the day, look, because we didn't get, that bona fide edge rusher or pass rusher, is what we'll call them, doesn't mean it's the end of the world. I think that you are going to see a much different defense this year. Top 10 is my prediction. Top 15 that's where we need to be. Top 15 to play just as well as we did last year and a little bit better, win an extra game or two. But I think that we'll get into the top 10 as long as everyone stays healthy now. Now, if we have some injuries, obviously I can't predict the future on who's going to be in and who's going to be healthy. But if our team is healthy by week 4 or 5 and we stay pretty healthy for the rest of the season, you guys, we're forgetting about Emmanuel Mosley too. Like when he's healthy, he's a dog. Now, you guys know I wasn't real happy about him coming back just because if I was a GM, I would never bring somebody back that had 2 ACLs, let alone even one would be hard for me. It's just the way I am. I don't like to gamble that much. To me, that's a big time gamble, But Brad Holmes knows what he's doing. He knew what he was going to do this draft. He knew what his plan was going to be going into this and how it was going to change throughout this draft, which it did. And we ended up with the players that we ended up with, and I think we're pretty damn solid. I really do. All right, now let me get into the chat. I apologize there. I'm gonna start from the last one and work my way back. No, actually, I lied. I'm gonna roll back a few seconds here. Thanks, Steve K said audio is good. I hope so because I've been talking for a while. Tracy says he might be at camp and not have a good signal. I don't know what that's to. Maybe I should start at the end. All right, Brian Welsh says, so rookies were the problem before that caused us to play a simple defense, but now these 2 rookies are going to change that. No. That's not what I said. What I said was we've had rookies playing every single year. So we have had our issues. Last year, Jack Campbell had some issues. There was a very specific play where Aiden Hutchinson grabbed him by the back of the shoulder pads, picked him up and threw him to the other side of the field. Right? We've had rookies on this team that don't know what they're doing at times. But to bring in a true number 1 corner, we're only talking about one guy here, and that's Terrion Arnold. That's the only guy we're talking about. I'm not talking about Ennis Rakestraw. I'm not talking about Sion Vaki. I'm talking about adding Terrion Arnold now to this defense That's the only guy that has to play well. And guess what? He does not have to be the number one guy. He can cover the number two. If he can play slot, he can cover the slot if he needed to. If he's quick enough, if he's got, oily hips and can flip and run and handle the, the little squirmy slot guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, those are tough guys to cover. So it's not what I'm saying is that rookies are the problem. No, I'm saying they're part of the problem at times. And when you're playing rookie, defenders or even guys on the offense, Jameson Williams running bad routes, not being in the right spot. Sam Laporta, same thing, not in the right spot, bad timing. It happened last year, but you know what? 99% of the time he was doing the right thing. It's just that 1% caused Jared Goff to throw a pick, and everyone blamed Goff, but didn't look at the fact that it was a rookie mistake. Jahmyr Gibbs had his moments last year. Jared Goff threw a pick. Jahmyr Gibbs ran the wrong route. It's happened. So I'm not blaming the rookies for everything. What I'm saying is when you have rookies on the field, you're going to have your issues. We've played a ton of rookies. They're not experienced. So they play well the majority of the time, but there's rookie dumb mistakes that do happen. That's what I'm saying, Brian. All right, let me get back. Yeah, Rob Newsom, most of our rookies won't play much this year. So I would tend to agree with that. So we already know that Giovanni Manu is projected by Brad Holmes. He made sure that was real clear to be a project. I perfectly fine with that. Like we've got Coyote, Awosika, and Colby that need to take that next step this year. And if they don't, look, they might get some time. They might get limited time. I'll look forward to seeing them in this, the preseason, and that's really about it. Sion Vaki is someone that I think is going to get his time on special teams. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk because people clung to one thing that Brad Holmes said about Sion Vaki, and that was we really liked, him as a running back. We really liked the fact that, at his pro day, he went and did 3 different, routines here. He did the cornerback, he did the safety, and then he did running back, and then he did wide receiver. How challenging that was in and of itself. And when I broke down my tape, mind you, 3 weeks before the draft, I said the same thing about Sion Vaki. That the fact that he was making those plays as a running back and a receiver without ever doing it in college before and just kind of stepped in because they needed him was incredible. And Brad Holmes said the same exact thing at his press conference on Sunday night. Saturday night. So I see, what's going on with Sion Vaki. I could see that he could be a talented two-way player. I saw that he could maybe flip to the other side and go offense. But I don't think that he's going to come into the NFL and just go to running back. He wouldn't make this roster. Where's he going to be? Are we keeping 4 running backs? That's never happened. Is he going to beat out Craig Reynolds? Those are the questions that we won't know until training camp. So if he's going to come in and just be a primary running back, even a wide receiver, he's not making this team. But he's going to play special teams, which will help him make this team. And I do believe that he'll get utilized, on defense, and they'll probably work him into some other sub packages on offense. But there's no way that he's going to end up being a 4th running back and last on our practice squad. He could. I think you can designate up to 4 guys you can protect. You could protect them. I don't really know who else is going to be on a practice squad this year, so I don't know what other competitions that there's going to be for him. But I do believe that Sion Vaki is going to have an opportunity to play. Might be limited, might be special teams. Maybe 10% of the snaps. Throughout the year, but we'll see. I mean, the dude's a fighter, man. He's a scrapper, and those are the kind of dudes that make room for themselves on the field. Yeah, we don't need Vaki to be a running back. That's the whole. I know what Brad said. I understand what Brad said, and there's some people that are kind of clinging to that, like, we drafted him just to be a running back. No, I don't think that's the case. If that's the case, then I would be really confused here. Are we going to get rid of Montgomery? Like, what are our choices? Our choices are he either beats Craig Reynolds or he's a 4th running back and we're going to keep. It doesn't make sense to me. But Brad's going to do whatever he's going to do. And I trust in the process here. That's all I can say. Who else here? So Ennis Rakestraw, believe it or not, I think that Ennis will definitely work his way into the rotation. I think that, he'll be in some of the dime packages. He'll be in some of the nickel packages potentially at times. He's definitely going to be, let's see, if you got Carlton, Amik, Terrian. I mean, he's definitely the fourth cornerback right now. And he's got to beat the other guys too. He's got to beat Emmanuel Mosley. He's saying, I'm not putting Emmanuel Mosley in the conversation until he's healthy and until he makes the field. I won't even talk about him. Being high up on the depth chart. I just can't. He's not healthy. I can't do it. So he has an opportunity to work himself into some of the sub packages, the dime packages, the nickel pack, whatever we're running, the bigger DB packages. And I think that he'll be able to work his way into. I mean, the more you read about the guy, the more people talk about him. There's a lot of things to like about him. I just don't know the personal side to him, right? I don't know the character flaws that there was that whole report that I tried to pull up and read for us. And for whatever reason, I couldn't find the rest of it, but I'll try to dig it up. But I don't want to know all the negatives on the guy. I want to know what he is now as a football player. That's the only thing that matters to me. If he's on this team, there's a reason why Brad Holmes trusts who Ennis Rakestraw is. Terrian Arnold, like I said earlier, there's no surprise here for me if he is a day one starter. There's no surprise for me. I know that he has to earn it. Like every other pick before him has had to earn his way onto the field. Jack Campbell, halfway through training camp last year, I remember Calvin Shepard saying, hey, Jack's a hell of a player, heck of a guy, really works his ass off, but he's got to earn it too. He's just not there yet. He's doing well, but he's just not there yet. And then I think in the first game of the season, I think Jack came in, I don't know, third play maybe. I don't think he started. I think he came in on the third play. We could go back and look, but I think I'm close to that. Second or third play, he got in. I don't think he started. So at the end of the day, he worked his way in. And then about halfway through the season, he really worked his way in. And he was consistently starting. But there was some times that Jack was held back a little bit because he was making some mistakes on the defense. And it's just part of the learning process. So all of these rookies, so Giovanni Manu, I always want to say Giovanni Manu, and then you have Mahogany. This guy, Mahogany, in my opinion, and others, big time steal in this draft. Another guy that I don't understand why he fell as far as he did. Brad Holmes says he might know a thing or two that he's not going to share with us. We'll watch tape together. I plan on breaking each one of these guys down, and we'll watch tape together. We'll watch highlights together. We'll break it down together. We'll see if we can find the things that, maybe Mahogany slipped a little bit as to the reason why. All right, now I promised you I would get to the chat. Here we go. Braylon Dennis says, there are some wide receivers in the UFL I want Brad to look at. St. Louis Battlehawks have some good wide receivers. Do you have any names of those wide receivers? And here's the thing about wide receivers. I'm glad you brought them up. So Brendan Rice slipped big time. And I almost think it was intentional. And when Brad Holmes was talking about why he didn't take a wide receiver, he kept talking about special teams. And he said that, if the guys aren't going to play special teams, how are you going to crack this roster? So Brad's really confident in every single wide receiver that we have on this depth chart right now is going to make this roster, or however many they're planning on keeping out of that group are going to make this roster. He's confident. It would have been very difficult, taking a guy, unless it was in the first round, taking a guy later on in the draft or the middle rounds of the draft and them not playing special teams. So did Brendan Rice not play special teams? I think it's a good possibility. I don't know if he played special teams. I didn't watch any USC football last year, so I have no idea if he played special teams or not. Well, we're going to find out. It's on the list. Oh, Meek is definitely a pit bull. I like that comment, Ben. Let me wind back here. So J Rod says, I have a feeling that Lattimore is coming home to AG. Can we give up Lattimore, please? J Rod, I love you, man, but we just grabbed 3 DBs in this draft. Like, there's no more room for another DB. Like, seriously, how many do we even have now? It's a ton. Let's find out. I think there was like 12 or something when I looked last time. It was a lot. See if they have it updated. Of course they don't. You know, the Lions are probably the worst team. This is the biggest knock I have on the Lions right now. This is the only thing that they do bad. They do not update their depth chart at all, ever. It's terrible. Roster is probably updated, but they could at least slide these guys in somewhere. All right, so we have Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, Emmanuel Mosley, Stephen Gilmore in that order, projected by ESPN at left cornerback. And then you have Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, Amik Robertson, and Kendall Vildor in that order at right cornerback. So that's 8. And then you have, where's our nickel guy? What is ESPN trying to do here? They at least have the defensive tackles and defensive ends right. They don't have like a nose tackle, but they do not have us with a nickel back. They have us with strong safety and free safety, Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. That doesn't make any sense. So you would have Brian Branch in the nickel, and then you would have Ifeatu Melifonwu up at the safety position, strong safety, Kirby at free safety, and then I believe Sion Vaki will probably be behind Ifeatu Melifonwu, which right now he is behind Ifeatu Melifonwu on ESPN's depth chart. So overall, you have 8 guys for corners. You have 5 safeties. That's 13. And if I remember correctly, last year we kept 10 or 12 total DBs. So we're kind of right there. I mean, I guess, J-Rod, you probably could throw another guy in there, but I just don't see a Marshawn, Lattimore and the type of money that he's going to command come into this roster. I don't. If he's not signed or something, I don't know Marshawn Lattimore's deal right now. So if he's not signed or if he's not, if he's let go or whatever, a post June 1 casualty, he may sign later on in the season with somebody on a relatively inexpensive deal. But I just don't see that really being a fit right now, especially with this crowded DB room. All right, so we know Braylon Dennis wants a wide receiver. We know J-Rod still likes Marshawn Lattimore. And Salty Pork Chops. Salty Pork Chop says Amik Robertson is 5'0". You have to be taller to be a safety. Branch goes back to safety, which is his natural position, and Amik plays nickel. Hey, you and I agree, Salty. I think that there is more opportunity this year for Brian Branch to go back to safety. And matter of fact, Dan Campbell had mentioned it sometime, I believe, around combine interviews, where that kind of question was asked. What did they see for Brian Branch in his role this year? In last year, when I talk about dumbing, the defense down a little bit, they felt like they were throwing too much at Brian Branch. So that's why they threw him into the nickel. He stayed in the nickel. They fed him all of the nickel information that he needed, right? And he just kept stamping out dime after dime after dime. That was supposed to be a joke every week. You get what I'm saying? So this year, he said that they're going to be able to give him, more information and learn a new position, which would be safety, so that he can be more well-rounded and somebody that can drop back and cover should we have injuries, which, again, this positional versatility. And I like the fact that I got a timeout because this is going to be a t-shirt. So Brad Holmes did the positional villain, right? I think that he's a position assassin. in my opinion. I know that assassin's a tough word, I guess. I don't know if it's any worse than villain, but I think that he's a positional assassin. I like that better. So I'm rolling with that for a t-shirt and the whole, thing that Brad Holmes got going on. Yeah, Brad Holmes is talking about offense, Ludell, from the standpoint that Sion Vaki does all of it very well. And the fact that he didn't ever have to do it before stepping into it, we could play the whole press conference and listen to it again, but he's not just on this team for offense. Silver Lion says division games are going to be significantly harder if the Bears, Vikings, and Packers rookies perform well. They all did well in the draft. Yeah, I feel like they did pretty well. Here's the biggest question, Silver Lion. Do you believe the Detroit Lions are better at developing their players than Chicago and Green Bay and Minnesota with the coaching trees that they have right now? Do you have faith that those three teams can develop their players better than what the Lions have been able to? And if the answer is, maybe about equal or yes or whatever, well, then, yeah, I would say that the rookies probably have a good shot. I think that a lot of the rookie development that we've seen from the Detroit Lions side, at least, has been bar none, probably the best in the league. I mean, two guys last year, brought in, Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. And I mean, they stood on business all season long. And that's not just the player. I mean, that's the coaching. That's the developmental phases that they went through from day one, to day, 365, now they've been full circle. They've been through an entire process of teaching these guys how to be better football players. And it's working. And it's worked every single year now for 3 seasons in a row. And this will be season number 4, where the Detroit Lions are going to come out on top. Ben, I agree with you and Steve. I do love Branch kind of in the middle or up near the line. I really do. I love him in the nickel. I think that it would be a shame to see him back in safety, but you know what? We might be surprised. We might find out that he's better back there. Who knows? I guess either way you can win. I don't think we can lose in that situation. He's just a thumper, man. I love seeing Brian Branch's tenacity up around the line too. The positional ninja. I like that one, D. That's a good one too. Yeah, so that's the question. Gaviscon Khan. He asks, is Vaki going to be Monty's backup? So you're talking about David Montgomery, right? So if you're talking about David Montgomery, I mean, I don't know. We got 3 guys that we usually dress for games and usually keep on the roster. Here, actually, let's do a little exercise here. I don't know if I have this in my files right now, but I'll try to look real quick. 2023 53-man roster. I don't know if you guys could tell during the Billy Sims interview today, like I've never done an interview like where I'm sitting next to somebody. I got about halfway through it and I'm thinking, shoot, why didn't I shoot the camera right between us and we were just kind of sitting across from each other? Because my neck is all fused, so you can see when I try to turn, I'm like stiff as a board. But I noticed that when I watched it back. Hopefully it wasn't too choppy. We were running on Wi-Fi and it was loud in there. All right, so last year, our 4th running back was a fullback, Jason Kabinda. So we had David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Craig Reynolds, Jason Kabinda. So Kabinda's back on the team right now, isn't he? Yeah, I think he is. Maybe he's not. If Kabinda's not on this squad, then yes, there is an option for Vaki back there. And then that would kind of make sense too. let me get back to this. Hold on. They have Undrafted listed as a running back and a safety. That's funny. I do not see Jason Kabinda. This could be a big moment for me if this stays true throughout the rest of the season. All right, so I'm going to have to switch gears here for a moment. How many times have I like broken down about the fullback position? It really drives me nuts. And you may agree or disagree. And you guys have heard me say this 100 times probably. It never makes sense to me to have a fullback. Not in today's league. There's maybe 10, fullbacks in the league. There's a couple that actually do a little bit of work on offense. It's never made sense to me. Great. They're special teams guys. They just happen to be fullbacks. I call those athletes. I don't call them, fullbacks. So why wouldn't you have an extra linebacker? We saw Malcolm Rodriguez take care of fullback last year. That makes more sense. Have an extra linebacker. Have an extra safety. Get a bigger safety. Undrafted could be his position, right? He's now the Jason Kabinda of the running back room. That would make a lot more sense to me. So if you are looking to have that extra guy that's a bulldog in special teams and you need to find a spot for him, extra tight end, extra linebacker, a bigger safety, those positions make sense to me. Have those guys be your fullback. An extra offensive lineman even. It doesn't have to be the biggest guy in the world, but maybe somebody that's a little bit nimble on his feet. I mean, could you imagine Penei Sewell back there at fullback? Oh, I'd love it. So this will be a big moment for me if we do not have a fullback on this roster. And Dan Campbell and Brad have somehow heard my cries to say, get rid of the fullback. And it's nothing against Jason Kabinda. Dude's an excellent dude. And I've always said that too. There's nothing wrong with Jason Kabinda as a person, as a player, as a human, whatever. Nothing wrong with him. He's actually a pretty cool cat. It's just the position to me doesn't make sense. I feel it's wasted in today's NFL. I'd rather have, a position where you have a lot of injuries backed up with a different player. Running back is one of those positions too, but not fullback. You're not going to put Jason Kabinda in there 25 times in a game. You're going to go find a running back sitting on the couch before you do that. So I hope that, we'll finally see that this year. All right. Question from Adam says, what are the chances that you think Arnold beats out Davis in camp? Ooh. Slim. I think the Lions are going to be smart this year. Even if Arnold does beat Davis, you are not paying Davis $15 million to be second fiddle. But then again, I mean, they're going to put the best player with the best receiver is what I'm hoping to see. Like, I don't want to see these guys stuck left or right. If Terrion Arnold's the best receiver or the best corner, and Justin Jefferson's the best receiver on the opposing team, Arnold needs to stick with Jefferson wherever he goes. And the rest of the defense needs to kind of fall in line and move around and adjust so that they're in position. I would love to see the Lions be able to finally do that. Sticking to right and left corner where you cover that part of the field only, I think it puts you in a bad position. And there's so many different ways to talk about this, and it sounds like I flip-flop, but then again, some corners only play really well on the right side or the left side. Just the way that their body mechanics work, right-handed versus left-handed, as far as quarterback, right-handed versus left-handed, not many lefties in the NFL. So the right-handed, quarterbacks constantly throw to the left side, or on the defensive side, the right side. So if you're not getting a ton of balls thrown on the left side, then maybe Carlton Davis is over there on the left side, which doesn't necessarily mean he's the number 2, but he kind of is the number 2. To answer your question, I think it's slim. I think the Lions would be smart, and I think that they're going to allow Terrion Arnold to get his experience in his rookie season without getting his feet burned, and putting him to fire, because I think that's just a bad way to bring corners into the league. I think it's good in situations like, okay, let's see what you got. I want you to now go cover this guy, for a couple of plays. I want to see what you got. You need to see what you got. But maybe that's not week 1, 2, 3, or 4. Maybe that's week 8 or 9. And, you got to be up by a few points to make sure that it's not going to hurt the team. I would much rather see him enter this league slowly and develop the right way and build his confidence in his first season. Confidence at cornerback position is everything. Skills are great. Talent's great. Speed's great. If you have no confidence, you ain't covering nobody. I don't care who you are. J-Rod thinks T. Arnold's going to be number 1 by mid-season. Does anybody know what Terrion Arnold's nickname is? I don't know what his nickname is. Isaac Rex is athletic. We need Antoine Green to step up. Who's Isaac Rex? Is that a UDFA? Oh, man. All right, so UDFA tracker. Let me switch gears here and talk about some UDFAs. So I mentioned Steel Chambers. That's such a crazy name. Who names their kid Steel Chambers? Like it sounds like something out of Wu-Tang Clan. It's hilarious to me. I love it. Love the name. Is it Steel or is it Steely Chambers? Either way, goated name. Love it. Steel Chambers, man. I thought the Lions would go after him in the 6th round or their last pick of the draft, and they didn't. They decided to pass up on him, and then they pick him up as a UDFA. I think this guy is a lot better than what you think. One, he's coming out of OSU, so you know that he's coming from a school that's pretty good at what they do. Let's bring him up. We'll share him on the screen. Did Randy ever make it in? Has anybody seen Better the Hunt? Because I'm about to open this package that I received. All right, so when we take a look at his grading from NFL Draft profile perspective, he didn't have the best grades overall, pass rush or run defense. He's also, played in a pretty darn good league. The Big Ten's not like some slouch league or conference, sorry. But he had 20 run stops and 16 coverage stops. It's pretty good. Now, not the greatest grades. He's not great in coverage. He's targeted 30 times with 36, targeted 36 times with 30 receptions. 83.3% completion rate. You're gonna get killed in the NFL with a completion rate like that. He did get 1 interception. He did not allow any touchdowns. He did force 1 incompletion. Overall, because of those 2 stats right there, his passer rating was only 81, which as most would say, is pretty good, right? I mean, that's really good. There's not one Detroit Lion that was on the team last year that had a passer rating of 81 as a corner, and he's doing it as a linebacker. It's college, though. I get it. But all 3 years, when you look at his grades from 21 to 23, 64.7, 67.6, 63.3, pretty consistent, right? So here's what this would tell me if I were scouting this guy. He's consistent. He's consistently doing the same things year in and year out just by looking at the grades, just by looking at the stats. 13 games played in every year. When you look at it, he's played 400 to, almost 700 snaps per season. Now, snaps can be off for many reasons. One, maybe you didn't have as many defensive snaps because you got the offense out early. Or two, maybe you were in a rotational role in your first year. But anyway, missed tackle rate, 9.7%. That's excellent. Anything below 10% is good. It needs work, but it's good. At the next level, anything below 10%, I would accept as a rookie. So his best games came against Michigan. Looks like Indiana. Is that SMU? Looks like SMU. The worst game came against Notre Dame. And his next best game came against Wisconsin. So he had pretty good games, against pretty decent teams. Obviously, Michigan being the best team out of all of them that year. So it excites me that his consistency would tell me that if he's coached right and he picks up on the techniques that he's about to learn, he'll be consistent as long as he implements them. You got to take what you've learned and now you've got to implement it. So that I love about this kid is I think that he'll be able to be consistent for the Detroit Lions. He's got a long way to work, though, to crack, a roster. I think it's going to be pretty difficult to get in front of, a Jalen Reeves-Maybin, a Malcolm Rodriguez, or a James Houston. All right. The next UDFA I want to talk about is Isaiah Williams. Oh, wow. Yeah. Steelers met with Sutton. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. All right. So Isaiah Williams, this kid got like a new record for a contract by the Lions for UDFA. 15,000 guaranteed. 15,000 signing, 240,000 guaranteed or something like that, which is a new record in the NFL. The Lions just, handing out money this year like it's no thing. So here's what this Illinois SB Nation had to say about Isaiah Williams signing with the Detroit Lions. They said, despite not getting picked in this year's draft, Isaiah Williams inked an undrafted free agent deal Saturday night with the reigning NFC North champions. Man, that sounds good, doesn't it? I want to say it again next year with a little bit more. Williams is coming off an all Big Ten first team season where he led the conference in receptions with 82, 1,055 receiving yards, and were second in the conference, directly finishing behind none other than Marvin Harrison Jr. His most notable performance of the last season was the 200-yard, 2-touchdown game in the thrilling overtime victory against Indiana. Additionally, he went over 100 receiving yards in 4 other games. St. Louis native has been with the Illinois program since 2019 and has played in every game the last 3 seasons, including the 2023 ReliaQuest Bowl. I love it. I'm loving the fact that this kid put up some yards. Stats are part of the equation here. As far as body type and size, let me pull them up by PFF here and take a look at them. All right. So liking the colors of this graph so far. Between 2021 and 2023, 72.5 overall, 74.9 overall, and a 79.9 overall in 2023. That's a pretty darn good collegiate career. Looks like he averaged right around 800 yards a season combined between the 3 seasons. And as far as As far as receptions go, he averaged 82. He went back-to-back seasons with 82 receptions. In 2021, he only had 47. Now, post-COVID or during COVID, obviously a lot of players didn't have the greatest of stats. So we really can't punish him a whole lot. Receiving grade, 80.9. It's way better than average, and it's almost to the elite status. Yards per route run, 2.51 is incredible. Contested catch rate, 21.4%, a little bit on the low end. But you got to remember, too, that this might mean that he's getting open. And so if he's more open, he's not going to have contested catches. So I do like the fact that, and we'll watch some tape on him or something one of these days, but I do like the fact that his drop rate is only 6.8%. So on 82 balls, 82 receptions anyway, how many targets did he have? 127. That means he would have dropped roughly 8 balls last year. Now, who they would have blamed the drop on, I guess, I don't have that information. I don't really know. But when you look at 2022, you look at his catch rate here, 104 targets to 82 receptions. That's like an 82% catch rate. And then, of course, in 2023, they threw the ball 23 more times at him. That's still probably close to 72%, somewhere in that range, making it up in my head. I think I'm close. Yards after the catch, pretty darn good, 6.7. Deep catches, 9, anything over 20 yards. Screen catches, 30, which means this guy can work over the middle. He's probably running a lot of the same type of routes that Amon-Ra runs, which is exactly what Ben Johnson wants to run because that's where everything is most open. Slot catches, again, 59. That's where a lot of the same area that St. Brown is running. Slot yards, 767. Deep yards, 323 on 9 catches. So I think that he's only had 3 contested catches last year, which means this guy's just getting open, but I won't settle on that until we're able to watch some tape on him. Yeah, Ben Foster, that's where Goff eats, man. That's where the rules are right now, helping NFL offenses get better and have more freedom over the middle of the field because linebackers and safeties and cornerbacks, they kind of have to lay off of you. We're talking about Isaiah Williams, J-Rod. Yeah, Ludell, this kind of looks like a St. Brown style of backup. The problem is, how is he going to crack the roster? If we look at the roster right now, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, DPJ, Maurice Alexander. I would say right now he can slide in probably over Maurice if he actually shows up and works his butt off this year. And then second wide receiver spot, you have Jamison Williams, Antoine Green, Tom Kennedy. I do not expect Tom Kennedy to make this roster. And then third wide receiver position, you have Khalif Raymond and Traquan Smith. So let's just say Isaiah Williams balls out all summer, makes the team. Every year, the Lions have had that UDFA that everyone wants to make the team. Last year it was Chase Cota. Who was the other guy? Dylan Drummond. Was that it? Was it Dylan Drummond? Or am I thinking way back? Who was the 2 that we wanted last year? We had Chase Cota and somebody else. Why can't I think about it? My brain is fried right now. Who was it? It was Chase Cota and who else? Anybody remember? It was Drummond, wasn't it? Hey, there's Randy. It's about time he got on here. Got to open up this package, man. I've been waiting for you. Glad you dropped in. So, every year we have these UDFAs that all Lions fans get attached to because these guys are burning it up in preseason. playing well in the combined camps that we did. Who did we do combined camps with last year? It was the Giants and was it the Jets? I know it was the Giants. I went to all of them, but I guess my short-term memory is starting to fade. So I like the kid. I'm going to have to watch some tape on him to tell you just how much more I'm going to like him after I watch tape, because I can tell you right now, this guy was nowhere on my radar. And then the second wide receiver, is Jalen Calhoun out of Duke. I don't know anything about him. And earlier, someone in the chat mentioned Isaac Rex, tight end out of BYU. I do not know much about this guy. We did grab another offensive lineman, Brian Hudson out of Louisville, and center, Duke Clemens out of UCLA. And I thought there was a second center. Where's the other center? Unless they were both listed as centers on a different site. But Duke Clemens got a $60,000 guarantee. Isaiah Williams, $240,000 guarantee. Edge Isaac Ukwu, $35,000 guarantee. So they must really like him out of Ole Miss. And then you have edge Nate Lynn out of William and Mary. What did I say about William and Mary? When I read Nate Lynn's name the other night, I said, "You watch, man. I don't see an edge player coming out of William and Mary, but Brad Holmes loves William and Mary guys because they're super intelligent, or at least that's, I guess what people think of when they think of William and Mary." So we got another linebacker safety, Deron Gilbert out of Northern Illinois, cornerback Maurice Norris out of Fresno State, defensive back Lauren Strickland out of Ball State, safety Chalon Garnes out of Wake Forest, looks like a long snapper Hogan Hayton out of Idaho, and then a kicker. Finally got a kicker, James Turner from Michigan. So look, I don't know anything about James Turner. So you Michigan fans would have to tell me, was he any good last year? That's the biggest question. Like, how good was he? Was he able to boot the ball? I really want to see Boom Boom Bates make this team. Let's look up this guy. James Turner. I don't even think PFF did anything on this guy. No, they didn't. Well, let's take a look at his stats anyway. All right, let me pull it in. Okay, so 2023, 85.7% on field goals. He was 18 for 21, so he only missed 3 field goals all season. 2 for 2 under 30, 12 for 12 under 40. He missed 2 between 40 to 49. He missed 1 over 50. So that 40 to 49 has got to be the sweet spot. And if you look at his history here, he missed 2 the year before, 4 the year before that, and hasn't been perfect since 2020. He's consistently missing kicks over 50 yards. His long so far in his history is 50 yards. So to me, that's a concern. You want to have that long ball kicker. I think you need the guy that can boot the ball. You need that game-saving field goal, and you just don't want to go for it for whatever reason. You need the guy that can kick it. Yeah, pretty much Ludell. That's a great point. It's almost identical to what we already have on the team. Between Patterson or Badgley, this guy's pretty much the same. Yeah, I would definitely take a shot at Jake Bates. I mean, I think he's proven himself already. 1,000%. He's proven himself. So, all right, now that Randy's in here somewhere, let's oh man, you're doing some camping this weekend? Nice. All right, so let me open up this package. I got a gift this past week, and I wanted to open it live. I felt like it was the right thing to do with everybody. All right. So we'll open it up. Better not be anything sick, Randy. Get me in trouble. Try to cut it thin because I don't know what's in it. I didn't cut it enough, I guess. Oh, no way. You know what, man? This just tells me that people actually pay attention when I do these shows. And Randy, this is awesome, dude. Like, seriously. So the other day I was saying that I wanted a Matthew Stafford bobblehead, that I don't have one. And they showed one when we were watching the Matthew Stafford Locked In or whatever. And this was the one that I wanted. And Randy went out and found it and bought it for me. So Randy, I really appreciate that, man. Let me open it, man. I'm gonna take a look at it. This is awesome, dude. Really I can't thank you enough, man. All right. Looks good. The old number 9. Appreciate it, dude. I got to get the other shelves put up. I got more shelves to put up. We'll get it put up. That's awesome, man. Thanks, Randy. Super cool of you, dude. Really. So, all right, what's up next? Alabama kicker has never cleared anything longer than 52. Which Alabama kicker are we talking about, J-Mommy? Lions Den says, we are the Lions. We score touchdowns. Who needs a kicker? I could probably point out a few situations where everyone was calling for the kick, like maybe the NFC title game. Just saying. Could have used the kicker, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. I really wouldn't have. I love the fact that Dan Campbell and this team, they trust each other. Like, the other thing that came in this box too was the 2017 schedule. I don't know if that was part of it, Randy. I don't know if you had them throw that in there, but the 2017 schedule that came with the bobblehead. So that's pretty cool too, man. And it's a magnet, so I'll find a spot for it. How many kickers did Alabama have? I don't know. No idea. Lions Den says, who will the guy of this draft class to get his own bobblehead? Who will be the guy of this draft class to get his own bobblehead? Where did it go? Basically, who will be the man after a couple years? I think Terrion Arnold's that guy right now. I said it the other day. I was having trouble because I said that, this could be Terrion Arnold could be a top 3 all-time draft pick by Brad Holmes. But then we started thinking about it, and you've got Penei Sewell in there, Monroe St. Brown in there. You're going to have potentially Aiden Hutchinson in there somewhere. But Terrion Arnold, Sam Laporta, he's somewhere going to end up in that mix. Top 5 all-time Brad Holmes draft picks is my opinion. This year on AG, I'm really expecting AG to step it up this year. Like I said earlier, if you guys are just now joining, the thing that I said earlier about AG is I really believe that, some of the defensive plays were just not being utilized. And for whatever reason, whether it was rookies having issues, the fact that we've had a very young team, over the last 3 seasons and maybe they're just not as ready. But now you're starting to mix in some veterans here or there. We've brought in some veterans now in the DB room that our new DBs will be able to learn from. And same thing with wide receivers. We've been bringing in wide receivers that have some good veteran presence. And, Reynolds was that guy for the last 3 seasons. He was the guy to, really help get that room up to speed. Now it's Amon-Ra St. Brown's room. And he's going to have to get all of those guys up to speed. And he's going to have to show those guys how to work. And, if they want to be the best, they got to beat the best. And they got to be like the best and do what the best do. So I guess we'll see where it all evens out in the end, and who comes ahead. But we've got some really solid draft picks over the last 4 seasons now. And this draft class is no different. Now, we maybe not the most exciting picks, after Terrion Arnold, but pretty solid picks, guys that are going to help this team. Yeah, so something about Brendan Rice, Ludell, just didn't sit well with Brad Holmes. And the theory right now, and Eric Rentamaki was talking about this earlier too in their truck ride over to somewhere. He was talking about, Brad Holmes in the press conference talking about the fact that someone wasn't playing special teams. And that's why he wasn't going to take a wide receiver. And Brad spoke to that, I believe, Saturday night in the press conference. So something just was off there, whether Brendan Rice and his father just ticked everybody off, or he said, hey, I'm not playing special teams. I'm here to play receiver and I'm not doing anything else. I'm not, putting my body in harm's way or doing all this extra. Well, if that really came out, then I guess I understand it. I completely understand it. Brendan's going to have to, work his ass off a little bit harder to be relevant now. Yeah, that was great. That electric and Bluetooth Lions. He says, I like how Christian Mahogany calls his play style as a dirt bag. And what a steal in the 6th. Yeah, I think it was Brad Holmes too that said it at the podium that Mahogany had a little dirt bag in him, which I've never heard a GM or a coach use that term before. But I will say this, he's already got the tattoos, man. So he fits in perfect with this offensive line group. They're I don't know if Frank's tatted up, but I think everybody else is. Yeah, Mike P, there you go. It wasn't only Brad. There was a lot of GMs that passed on Rice. So there's something there. There's something that we don't know. Don't know what it is. John Doe says Brad was saying they know of a reason why Mahogany fell in the draft. Any idea why? Character? I don't have an idea. I have no idea. Here, let's take a look. Let's take a quick gander here at Google in a second. So we wrapped up all of the UDFAs. Again, so far as been reported, the Lions have brought in, looks like 14 UDFAs. And And if we take a look at over the cap, the Lions currently have, man, is what I said the other day, 72 players under contract. And none of the UDFAs are listed here. So that's going to be 86. So the Lions are only 4 players away from having their 90-man roster. 4 players. And I think Cam Sutton still counts on the roster until after June 1. So really we only have, 1 or 3, maybe 3 players that we can bring in right now. So roster's almost full, guys. So there's not a whole lot of moves that are going to be made. Current cap space right now for the Lions is an amazing, astounding $26 million. So we were at $27 million before we signed Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown. It only changed by $1 million. So pretty solid job by the financial teams once again for making the magic money work. Because that's what it is, man. It's all magic money. Yeah, John, we've seen that a few times in here today that Cam Sutton is met with the Steelers. I could really care less. I'm done with Cam. I can't imagine that. I don't know why a team would want to bring him in. I really don't. But it is the Steelers. It's where he came from. They know him, right? Maybe if he can get somebody to listen, it would be them. I wouldn't want that guy anywhere near my team. We especially with the report of the fainting issue, like the blackout issue. If that's legit, I'd want to know more about that. And maybe they already knew. Maybe everybody already knew. We just didn't know. All right. So we were going to look up Brendan Rice just for the heck of it. Yeah, I don't understand this first statement. So according to this one site, they're saying that Brendan Rice didn't have the athletic profile or production. I don't understand that. He's been related to the Bronny of the NFL. So, LeBron James' son, just issue after issue, just someone that's entitled. Hey, you got to come in and work for it in the NFL. This is not a league that, your dad's just going to get you in. You got to work for it. If I had to take a guess, I'm not going to dig deep and waste my time on Rice, but if I had to take a guess, I would say that some teams are probably turned off by the Prima Donna Act, or something his dad said, or something, or maybe the both of them said. I don't know, because I don't know what they said. So if I had to take a guess, it would be something in line with character. In character meaning, a wide range of things. he probably just wasn't a good fit. Character means everything, in this league. It really does. I didn't even see where Frank Gore Jr. went. Where did he go? It's funny though. I did mention in one of our pre-draft shows, pre-draft, like the last couple weeks, that I did think the Lions were going to get another running back late, just to round out, the roster and put some, competition in the camp. But they didn't. They grabbed the safety running back instead. I was really interested in Frank Gore. I know he's small, and he's definitely not the guy that I would, want as a typical running back. But I just liked his unique ability, and if he's anything like his father was, you can't replace those kind of guys. Frank Gore Sr., man, he was an absolute bulldog. He fought for everything, absolutely everything. He punished guys. That's a guy you didn't want to tackle. Period. Even though he was small, he hit you like a Mack truck. 16,000 yards or whatever he had in his career. I think it was third most in history. Frank Gore Jr., what was he, 5'8", 5'7 and a half, something like that. Somewhere right around there. But where did he end up going? Did he go to the Bills? Oh, shoot. He was an undrafted free agent to the Bills. Get out. I see it now. Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't imagine dealing with Rice or I don't think Frank Gore is a problem, but I see Better the Hunt said that Gore's dad's going to be a handful. I didn't get that take. I didn't really feel that way, but maybe you read or know something that I don't. Oh, his dad was quoted as saying, we going to come to Buffalo and we will show you. If I remember correctly, your son is the one running. I got you there. How was the barbecue at Billy Sims? Of course, it was excellent. I mean, it was really good. They brought me out a sample plate of everything. I haven't eaten bologna since I was probably a kid, but they even had some bologna. They brought out sausage, turkey, chopped pork, pork ribs, brisket, of course. Brisket was real good. I didn't do any of the fixins, like, I didn't do the green beans. I had some cornbread that they had there, but I didn't do the green beans or the mac and cheese or anything like that. I just went for the meat, just sampled all the meat. And then we talked about, franchises and, possibility of franchise. I think it would be a really unique opportunity, and seriously considering it. I think it would be fun. It was brainstorming, like I could have, a little room over here that could just be a podcast room. We could do it live during the day. Could have shows running all day, people coming in. I had this whole thing going on the way home today for 3 hours or 4 hours, however long it took me to get home today. It was good. I mean, it was a shorter interview. We had a lot of people coming in to do autographs with Billy Sims. And I wanted my, 15, 20 minutes with him to be the best that it could be. If it wasn't raining this morning, bad, we probably would have been set up way earlier. But it took me almost an hour to get set up, with all the lights, the roadcaster, the computer, the mics, headphones, sound checks, internet, you name it. It was a lot of stuff. I mean, I brought in like 12 bags of stuff just to get, full production on site and have good lighting, and it worked, but it definitely takes a long time to get set up. So I was hoping to go right at 10:30, so we would have had a full half hour with them. They opened up at 11 to bring people in for autographs today. So he even paused, doing autographs to make sure that he could get on the podcast today, to get back to the community, which, he's done so much of in his post-football career. he really does a lot for the community. He's such a warm dude, like just a good guy. And I'd have to say, out of all the professional football athletes or professional fishermen, I mean, any of these pros that I've met in my life, the large majority of them are pretty good people. And sometimes it's not so easy to find really good people in life. But I guess I've been lucky. A lot of the guys that I met have been really, really good people. And he's one of them. Draft grade. So Dat Crazy 620 wants a draft grade. So here we go. I will say this, and this is without grading the players. This is just draft grade, meaning positional, needs, best player available. Oh man, hold on. Let's do this. Let's walk this one together. All right. Let's walk this one together. I'm going to pull up every draft pick. We'll walk through it. Not all of them. We're just going to walk through the Lions picks. And then I'll tell you how I get to my grade. Remember, this is not, I'm not grading the players. I'm not going to do that until they actually play. Okay, so Lions pick first at 24. Now, the first defensive player comes off the board at 17. Or, no, I'm sorry. This is not even the right thing, is it? Omadunzi, Brock Bowers, Latu. Jared Verse at 19. Yeah, that's the right one. So, first player comes off the board at 15. Latu, I mean, that blew my mind. Like, really blew my mind. He definitely wasn't the best player overall. Then you got Byron Murphy. This can't be right. It is. Travis Scott. We got 14 UDFAs right now. 14. So Terry and Arnold at 24. I mean, when you look behind him, so who else was available, right? Jordan Morgan. Yeah, I would have loved to have him, but we don't necessarily need a starter. Graham Barton don't necessarily need a starter. Darius Robinson. So this is the one where it's confusing to me. Lions really like this dude, but they had Terry and Arnold graded higher than Darius Robinson. It's not about the position. It's about the player. So they had Terry and Arnold above, and that's where, they wanted to reach up and get him. I think that we should all be happy that the Lions moved up because Darius Robinson was going to be gone by 27. And the Lions certainly were not going to allow the Green Bay Packers to get Terry and Arnold if we waited till 29. And they weren't going to allow the Eagles to take them. Or Dallas to take them. So I think it was a very smart move. I'm going to give this pick a flat A right now. We definitely are not trading for Hendrickson. You guys, the defensive line is solid. Like it's done. We don't have the money to go trade, or the cap space now, draft capital to go trade away a bunch of money or picks, for someone. What is Hendricks? What's his salary this year? $15 million. We have $26 million left, and we have to sign about $12-13 million worth of rookies. So it just doesn't work. So the next round, pick 61. Lions didn't move up. We waited. And what they said was there were some players that they wanted that came off the board just before they were going to pick at 61. Otherwise, they were going to try to move up. Now, if I were to take a guess on who those players were, I think that Zach Frazier could have been in that conversation. Absolutely. I think Mike Hall was in that conversation. They just brought him in. I think Marshawn Nealand was definitely in that conversation. Chris Braswell was definitely in that conversation. Blake Fisher could have even been in that conversation. So for that reason, they didn't move up to grab somebody, and they select Ennis Rakestraw at 61. Now, I'm going to give this one. Let me look in the third round. I got to see who falls after him. Is there anybody back here that we would have wanted, or anybody else that we could have taken in place of Ennis Rakestraw and maybe still had a chance, to get somebody else in place of him? So if you're thinking edge rusher, or if you're thinking pass rusher, you have Ellis's son, Jonah Ellis. I think he's the only one that came off the board in the third round. Nope, you got Adisa Isaac and Jalix Hunt. So Jalix Hunt's a very, very interesting prospect to me, but you're not going to take him at 61. Absolutely not. I think the Lions would have been smart to move up to grab him. And then you got Dwayne Carter, another prospect that I really loved, but and I would have loved to see him over Mekhi Wingo, honestly. But again, you would have had to have moved up into the back end of the third round here. So you'd have to move down 30 picks to get any one of these guys or any one of these guys here. So for that reason, I'm going to give this a B+ for Ennis Rakestraw. Where did we pick next? Fourth round. So Giovanni Manu. Again, let's look at what happened, the first 5-6 picks in front of this. Malik Mustafa. That would have been an excellent pick if he would have slid down to 126. If he was still available, would have been an excellent pick. They brought him in. I loved his play. I loved his play just like I did Sion Vaki's. But if we look ahead of this, how much further would they have had to have jumped up? Tanner Bortolini, I loved him as a center. Mason McCormick, I definitely love this dude. That's a great pickup for the Steelers. If you really needed a wide receiver, I don't know if Devontae Walker plays special teams, but you would have had to have moved up another, 11 spots to even grab a wide receiver that makes sense. So let's look behind us. What went after us? TJ Tampa went after us, but we just grabbed 2 corners. There's no way you're grabbing a third, right? Well, so we thought. But then you got Sion Vaki right here at 3-2, 132. And then anything below that doesn't really matter because you already picked up here at 26. So I'm going to give Giovanni Manu a C because he's a project. So right now we've got A, B+, and C. We're sitting at a solid B right now in the draft. And then right after him, you take Sion Vaki. Now, Sion Vaki being a two-way player, the Lions didn't really, give up a ton, to get these picks. And we still have just about every pick next year minus a third-round pick. And we did give up our extra fourth, but we do have 2 6th and 2 7th-round picks in 2024 that we can package up some of them and move back up into the third anyway. So Sion Vaki, look, this dude's a great player and a two-way player and someone that has multiple, positional versatilities, if you will. So I'm going to give Sion Vaki a B+. I think that was a great pick. And I'm not just saying that because I said the Lions were going to take him. I'm saying that because I truly believe Sion Vaki is going to shock a lot of you. What was our next pick? what was our next pick? What round am I in? Oh, got to go to 6. Then you get Mekhi Wingo at 189. And again, this is a guy that slipped for whatever reason. Look at all these trades. Denver to LAR to Buffalo to Houston to Detroit. I mean, that's crazy. That pick was went around the world and back. So Mekhi Wingo, excellent pick. End of the 6th round here, or middle of the 6th round, I guess. And did we need another defensive tackle? Maybe not. But then again, he's going to be better than Broderick Martin, I believe, right away. I really believe that. So let's see what happened behind him. What happened behind him, I guess. Is there anybody else that you really like behind him? We don't need a quarterback. Don't really need a tight end. Christian Boyd is someone that was actually on their top 30 visit. I really like Jaden Crometti. I just no one really jumps off the page here that is better than Mekhi Wingo. I think that Mekhi Wingo was a phenomenal pick. And then you got Kamal Hayden. If we didn't take Ennis Rakestraw, I firmly believe Kamal, probably would have been in that range for the Lions. So Mekhi, look, I've got to give him a B. Christian Mahogany, another steal. That's a A-. So if I were to add all that up, A, B. So you've got 6 picks, right? I just found a unique little article here. We'll see what they say too. Let's see. 1 second. I'm trying to pull something up real quick. All right. Tyrion Arnold, I had A+. Ennis Rakestraw, I had a B. Giovanni Manu, I gave a C, right? Because he's a project. So we got 4, 3, 2. And then I gave Sion Vaki a B+. Mekhi Wingo, I gave him a B. And then Christian Mahogany, I said A, right? So I have a solid B grade. All, overall, a solid B, maybe a B+. Where are you guys at? Overall, I see some of your individuals here. Where are you guys at overall? And let's see what this article by Pride of Detroit says. All right, so Pride of Detroit. All right, we got B+ overall by Greg Warner. We have about the same grades on all: A-, B-, B+, A-. Oh yeah, J Mommy. Wingo's definitely going to surprise people. Solid B+, overall A. Seen someone give the Lions an A. I say a B. B plus, B plus. So I'm right there with you guys. I'm going to solid B. Solid B. You know, the fan in me would say A plus all day, but I got to give a B because we got one prospect in the middle rounds when maybe you could have grabbed a game changer in that round and you would have reached, but I guess I see a positional need though right there, and we know Brad Holmes doesn't draft for needs. He grabs for, he drafts for ball players. All right, let's see if any of these guys had anything even close to say what I said. So let's see here. Trevor Sikkema, PFF, gave the Lions an A. And he said, the Lions continue to rebuild a defense that ranked 30th in coverage grade in 2023. Rakestraw, the 46th ranked player on the PFF big board, is a physical cornerback who excels in zone coverage. He posted an 85.2 PFF zone coverage grade in 2023. The Lions have completely revamped their cornerback room in just one off season. So why didn't he mention Terry and Arnold? Why did he mention Rakestraw? That's kind of weird. And I wouldn't be happy. I'm not real happy that Rakestraw is projecting more of a zone coverage guy when the Lions play man majority of the time. So I guess I'm not sure where Trevor's going with that, but I'm glad he gave us an A. The Ringer, Danny Kelly, says Arnold gives the team a plug-and-play starter and ball-hawking playmaker on the outside. General manager Brad Holmes didn't stop there, grabbing another potential future starter at cornerback in Missouri's Ennis Rakestraw Jr., my 42nd overall player in the second round. Rakestraw is slightly undersized, but makes up for it with his tenacious physical style. The Lions made one of the more interesting picks of day 3, nabbing a physical marvel in University of British Columbia's Giovanni Manu. Manu stands 6'7", 352 pounds, and has the athletic traits that suggest he could develop into a starting tackle for Detroit. You know, these guys are going to be, like I said, the other night, any of these projects that we brought in for the offensive line, they're in such a good position. Like being able to learn from all of these, elite offensive linemen and probably the most elite offensive line coach. And I know I keep saying that, but they are in such a great position. All right, Sports Illustrated, Matt Verderam gave the Lions an A. General manager Brad Holmes is the new Howie Roseman. What do I mean by that? Sensible draft choices that aggressively target areas of need and a relentless pursuit of those picks. The Lions nabbed 2 of the draft's best cornerbacks to help them patch a secondary that may have been their biggest Achilles heel last season. Holmes and Coach Dan Campbell are a force together, one of the few GM and coach combinations who seem to truly be on the same page. You know what I'm going to watch tonight when I get done with this? Not that I have time, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I don't know why he just got compared to Howie Roseman. I'm not real sure where he's going with that. But I compare Brad Holmes to the new Moneyball, and I'm going to watch that tonight. It is such a great movie. That's what Brad Holmes is all about, man. He's doing things so different. Nobody really understands it. And that's exactly what happened, in that Moneyball movie. Oh, let's see here. Good old Billy Bean. All right, sporty news. Vinny Liar gave the Lions an A. I can't believe all of these A's. I think that they just don't want to be wrong. They've been wrong probably every year, and now they're like, screw it. We're just going to give them an A because if we don't, we're going to be wrong. So anyway, he says the Lions don't have much unfinished business after general manager Brad Holmes crushed the draft and free agency in the 2 previous seasons. The top of that list by far was getting 2 starting caliber cornerbacks who could fit well and make a lot of plays in Aaron Glenn's scheme. Arnold and Rakestraw can help clean up the makeshift mess from 2023. Bleacher Report staff pick gave him an A-. The bottom line is the Detroit entered draft weekend with one obvious need. General manager Brad Holmes addressed it with his first picks without reaching for prospects who can't contribute early. The rest of Detroit's draft wasn't exactly filled with value, but again, the Lions are adamant about trusting their board. It's a great take. Here's the one thing that you guys are noticing, and I don't think that these are handpicked by, what was it, Reisman? Did Reisman print this? Yeah, he did. I don't think these are handpicked to, assemble a narrative here. I think that these are just very well documented and accurate takes that are spelling out the issue that the Detroit Lions team was facing in 2024. The consensus here is we never needed a damn pass rusher. We needed a defensive backfield. That's the consensus. So I don't know how all of us can be wrong if we're all in the same boat, rolling in the same direction, saying we need to fix the worst part of our defense, which is the backfield. And then Brad Holmes goes and does exactly that. I mean, I think it makes sense, right? I mean, we're all clamoring for the same thing. Cornerbacks, defensive backfield, get it done, fix it. We're sick of being last in the league. We don't want to be last in the league for the 4th season in a row. We're darn near, last. We need to do something about it. And that's what all these guys are saying too. I mean, the sporting news guy says that, essentially, I'm sorry, this Bleacher Report thing said that, there was one glaring need. Sports Illustrated says the secondary was the Achilles heel last season. I said the same or similar to that. The Ringer, talks about, the fact that the Lions, are grabbing their potential future starting cornerbacks in Rakestraw and Arnold, who gives them day one starting ability. If your first round pick can come in and start, I think that's saying something. It's saying that you have a problem. Not every first round pick, gets the shot to start everywhere, every time, especially being picked at 24. I'd say your top 10, top 15 definitely should start. But after that, I think it's a fight. So moving down to the bottom of the board here, CBS gave him a B-. Chris Trapezo says Arnold is squeaky clean and has upside. I've never heard someone refer to a cornerback like that. Arnold is squeaky clean and has upside because of his complete game. Vaki is such an energetic safety who can do everything in any defensive back position. He's just small. Wingo can get up the field from the inside. As much as I love what the Lions have done over the past 3 years, especially in the draft, after the back-to-back cornerback picks, I didn't love what Detroit did in this draft. Well, that's okay. We probably don't care what you do either, Chris. But the fact that he mentioned Wingo can get upfield in the middle of this defense is something that we haven't really done a whole lot. And I've said it now all offseason that the path to the quarterback is where, guys? It's through the middle of the defense. envision that you've got this chain link, like a necklace that's all, linked up. You got all these links that are interlocked. You hammer the center of that offensive line with 2 stud defensive tackles and then a linebacker that's bull rushing through the middle of them, and you break that link and you separate that offensive line, you've now created a gap. And the minute you create a gap, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either a running back is going to run through it and get smashed, or a linebacker is going to run through it and smash the quarterback. Those are about the only 2 things that are going to happen on that collision course. So what I'm looking forward to the most right now is watching these defensive tackles go to work and watching them work from the inside and finally split the pairs and get to the quarterback through the inside, allowing our defensive ends, Aiden Hutchinson, Davenport, setting the edge and not allowing the run or the escape artist, for a quarterback, get outside. You always want to fill the gaps through the middle of the defense. Bust it up, get through, and then force everything outside to your ends where they should be ready to, clean it up. And then, of course, if you've got really good cornerbacks, guess what? They don't have an outlet now. They don't have a way to get the ball upfield, and throw it away. They're going to have to take the sack. A lot of times you'll see a quarterback that's looking like he's going to throw, right? He's looking, he's on the run, he's looking, and then he just tucks it and rolls and falls down because he knows if he throws that ball, it's getting picked. And if he doesn't do something soon, he's going to get creamed. So be looking for a lot of those plays this year. That's what I'm expecting. New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy, 1 year after acing their draft with unconventional picks, the Lions focused on higher value positions, including a trade up to steal Arnold, who was pushed down by the 14 straight offensive players at the start. Can Vaki continue playing 2 ways in the NFL? That's a question. So he's kind of right here, I believe, but I don't know if we really focused on higher value positions. I would say it's quite the opposite. I don't think we got a ton of value with Giovanni Manu. I think we got great value for Mekhi Wingo, and we got great value for Mahogany, but I don't think we got great value for Giovanni Manu. And we had to trade up to get Arnold. I think the Ennis Rakestraw, there was good value there because he slipped all the way to 61. So I don't think they focused on high value. Associated Press, Rob Motti says, traded up to get cornerback Terry and Arnold at 24 and strengthened the pass defense even more with cornerback Ennis Rakestraw in the 2nd round. Well, that was a really telling quote there, buddy. A lot of info. Where'd we go here? All right, Mel Kiper. Can't wait to read this one. Gave the Lions B. Says, I thought Holmes should have targeted a wideout on day 3. The round 4 was just too high for Giovanni Manu, on whom we have limited data. He played against bad competition in Canada. Detroit surrendered its 2025 3rd-round pick to trade up. The Mekhi Wingo 189 selection is outstanding. I have him ranked higher than his former teammate Jordan Jefferson, who went number 116. Sion Vaki 132 played both running back and safety at Utah, and I like him better on offense. Interesting take, Mel Kiper. Interesting take. Too bad you blew up your entire mock too, just like me. Chad Reuter from NFL.com said the Lions doubled up at corner in the 1st and 2nd rounds, flexing their aggressiveness by trading a 3rd rounder to move up for Arnold instead of staying put and possibly selecting his Bama teammate, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Detroit got fair value on Rakestraw at the end of round 2, though the team could have used another edge rusher or receiver. And this last one here is USA Today. Nate Davis says they've now tripled down and 27th ranked pass rush drafting cornerbacks, Terrion Arnold, round 1, and Ennis Rakestraw, round 2. They join trade arrival Carlton Davis as this team continues to load up for the ever elusive Super Bowl run. Alabama's charismatic Arnold, in particular, should be a great culture fit and beloved figure in Motown based on his reception from the locals Thursday night. According to USA Today, these cornerbacks are putting us in a position to make a run for the Super Bowl. What do you guys think? Is Tracy getting out of control? Where's Tracy at? J-Rod, you taking off? All right, man. Appreciate you coming in. Appreciate it. John Doe says the moral of the story, our team only gets better with the draft. With young assets, we are better now than we were last week. Hey, I got a question in the chat. So when you guys send in a chat message, does it give you limited a number of characters? Like, can you not send as much as you want? Like, is it only, I don't know, maybe 300 characters or so? Okay. I was going to say, give me your take like these guys, you know, give me a 300 character take and we'll read it. You know, what is your take based on what the Lions just did in this draft? And how well did we do? I think we did great. You know, my B is, it's a safe B. I think it's safe. I'm not going to reach and I'm not going to dump. I think that the Lions did an excellent job filling holes, filling needs. Best player, they did it all. Now, I say needs, but we know that he doesn't pick for needs. I think that by filling the biggest void on this team, you are much further ahead, not just today, not just this season, but think about 2025. Think about 2026. Think about 2027. You now have 3 DBs on this roster that will be together for a minimum of 3 seasons. Minimum of 3 seasons. Amik Robertson will be around for 2 seasons. Carlton Davis is only signed for a 1-year deal. So if we were to forward project what's going to happen next year, the Lions are going to save $15 million in cap space by not re-signing Carlton Davis unless he has some crazy good year. Which means you're going to have Terrion Arnold being your number 1. Ennis Rakestraw could come in as your number 2. Amik Robertson could come in as your nickel back or your backup. And Brian Branch is either your nickel or your strong or free safety, wherever he projects better. And then you've got Sion Vaki that can also play both ways as well. I do expect him to play some safety when time permits or injury permits. So you're set up. We are completely set up for now and the future. And man, imagine if we grab another corner next year. If Brad Holmes feels that the corner market is that good next year and we grab another top corner in this draft of 2025, your DB room is now set all on cheap contracts for 4 seasons together. I love it. I love what he's doing here. And I'm going to go back to the one thing that I've spoken about numerous times, and that's called roster roulette. And I know that I promised you guys we're going to go through it at some point and kind of map it out together and what it really looks like. It's some project that's taken me a long time to finish, but I'll try to say it one more time briefly. If you grab a cornerback now in 2024 in the first round, you're probably going to grab another first round cornerback in 4 seasons at a minimum. I'm not saying he couldn't next year because he could, but at a minimum, it's probably in 4 seasons. Because after that 3rd year, if your corner's done really well, he might want an extension. And if he gets an extension, then that kind of changes things. You have to keep the cap volume low, and you have to keep guys in the funnel to add to the team, high quality starting ability, guys that can come in and play and give you results on the field, give you production. So if you drafted one this year, which you did, Terry and Arnold, in 4 more seasons, you would grab your other, top tier starter, whether it's first or second round, wherever it projects better. And that roster roulette wheel just keeps on spinning. And as it comes back around, now you're landing on, I took a defensive end in 2022. Well, now I've got to take another defensive end in 2025 because Aiden's played 3 seasons. He's probably going to want a contract extension, even though you don't have to give him one, and you can 5th-year option him at some point. You've got to grab one at some point. So I would expect that they're going to grab a defensive end either next season or pass rusher the next season or the season after that, after Aiden plays 4 seasons. And they pick up his 5th-year option if he's still playing well. So that's kind of how it works for me. And that's what my board's going to look like. So when I have my board set up, it'll obviously be all the players that I love. And then I'm probably going to have to set up a whole nother board that lays out all of the contracts, and where do we have holes? And at what point do I need to grab those players that have, or positions that have big contracts in that positional group? That's how you keep the cap low, guys. You have to draft at the right time and get the right players at a position of need and also the best player available. And I feel like it's a very fine line to walk. It's not as easy as what Brad Holmes makes it sound by any means. All right, J Mommy says the plus with all the talent that the Lions get, they can do package deal in the future for a better draft pick. Absolutely. Ornery U of M dad says trade away Davis. I think he'll be gone after this season unless he has a crazy season. But yeah, I wouldn't see us trading away. And I know you're just joking. The Lions Den says it's easy. It's how easy it is to draft when the roster looks like this. Unfamiliar territory for the Lions. Literally one hole every year in drafting for future teams. It's insanity to me. We have not had a team like this that is so, they're covered everywhere very well. And I'm just going to say it, man. Like, people doubt Brad Holmes. They've doubted him from day one. They doubted him last year. Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12. What are you thinking? You're crazy. Oh, Sam Laporta in the 2nd round, and you still haven't grabbed, a corner or an edge rusher or whatever. And those 2 guys go on to help you get into the NFC title game. Because you can definitely do one of 2 things in the NFL. You can either have the most potent offense that'll take you the distance if you have a marginally good defense. Or you can have a lockdown defense without an offense, and you're still not going to win games. Because if you can't score, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. I think people forgot that. Like, if you cannot score, it does not matter if your defense goes and shuts every team down to 10 points or less. If you can't even get, 1 touchdown or a field goal on the board, your defense is then useless. Yeah, but we're balanced. There you go. Nemesis breaks. We're very balanced. I think we're a little bit less balanced when you talk defense versus offense. I would say that this team is probably 65-35 right now. And after this draft, I would say it's probably more like 55-45. So I think the offense still leads the way. And that might even be heavy. I think we're still 60-40 offense to defense. I still think the defense has a little bit of a way to go, only because we don't have all of our guys drafted. You know what I mean? We don't have all of them drafted. So we still need another corner next year, potentially. we still need the right side of the defense. We still need a linebacker to take over for Alex Anzalone. I can't imagine that he's going to get another contract. So I would expect a linebacker next year. And maybe that'll be our next topic. Once we get through all of this, is we'll start looking at next year. What do we need for next year? What are we going to project next year? It's a good point. Dak Crazy 620 says we can pick up after training camp. It's always a good opportunity, after all the cuts and the 53-man rosters are done. There's going to be a lot of really good players available. And Brad Holmes does spend some time there and some assets. He does save some money and some availability for post 53 cuts. Rob Newsom says, my biggest concern for the season is how healthy our D-line can stay. That's a weak link. I think we're deep enough in the backfield. I tend to agree. All right, I think the Yawns have won. As far as the D-line goes, I think we're really solid at the D-line. But to your point, if we're not healthy, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who we have. So they're going to have to stay healthy. DJ Reader is the one that I think hinders, or this defense hinders on DJ Reader being healthy. If he's not healthy this year, and remember, we have him for 2 seasons. If he's not healthy this year, we're going to struggle. Flat out. We'll struggle. Donovan Amos, where you been? And shout out for the $4.99 super chat. He says, these people who doubt Brad always try to play off everything when the season starts. Like they ain't say what they said. Yeah, it's funny, man. Hey, if we go on to have an excellent season, and look, I get it. A lot of us want a Super Bowl. I want a Super Bowl too. But I think that we need to temper our expectations a little bit. How do I make the analogy here? You didn't just, well, maybe some of you did, but you didn't start walking before you crawled, right? Maybe some of you were lucky enough just to one day, hey, I'm just going to stand up and I'm going to take a step. I'm sure that's happened to some kids. But the large majority, probably 99% of humans, didn't start walking until they began to crawl. The same can be said for this Detroit Lions team. We started crawling in 2021. Brad Holmes, Sheila Hamp, Dan Campbell, and the rest of the team gutted everything. Completely scrapped the entire team. Over 80% of the roster was turned over in one season. And about 50 to 45, somewhere in that range, has been turned over every season since. And to this day, I'll have to go back and redo the calculations. I think we are about 92% turned over now from 2020's roster. That's huge. Inside 4 years, that's huge. So we had to start crawling in 2021. Hey, we were handed this team. We were handed no money. We were actually handed a check with negative dollars and numbers on it. We got to dig out. So we've got to crawl through this entire season. And then the next season, we started off crawling again. Well, we're like 0-6 or whatever we were, through the first 6-7 games of 2022. And then a light switch went off. And all of a sudden we finish up 9-8 and we go on a tear for the last, 10 games or so of the season. So we started walking. And then in 2023, man, we're still walking. Our heads held up. We're moving a little bit faster. And then week 3, we started to run. And by week 10, we are sprinting. And that's how we finish the season. So this year, we got to bring it back down a little bit, right? We're not going to start off sprinting. We're not going to start off crawling. We're kind of running at this point. We're running the north. We're running the ship. But we have to stay healthy along the way. We have to get the proper nutrition, stay hydrated. I know I'm going far left field here. But the point that I'm trying to drive home is we can't just expect to go from crawling to Super Bowl. It's rarely ever happened. Rare, extremely rare. We almost did it. But to now back that up into 2024 and to try to do it again, temper your expectation. Because if we get there and it does happen, you will be that much happier because you did what you did. Just set the expectation that we're going to make the playoffs, probably going to win a game, but the rest beyond that is all unknown. And then quite honestly, even making the playoffs is unknown. Having a winning season is unknown. We could have a rash of injuries this season, and it could be over before it started. So anything can happen. And I know the what ifs are hard to predict, but I think that if we start to get it too far ahead of ourselves and expect and demand that we have to win a Super Bowl, you're going to have a pissed off fan base again. What did I miss? Ornery U of M dad says, okay, I'm crawling into hydrated. I got it. Wait, did I party all night and crawled home? That's funny. Let's see here. Lions Den says Brad Holmes preaches a BPA, but it ended up being BPA positions of need this year and last. Lose Hawk, draft Laporta, lose Sutton, draft Arnold. Linebackers are weak, draft Campbell, trust the plan. It's kind of weird, right? He says he doesn't pick for need, but at the end of the day, it kind of seems like he is. Travis Scott says people know who we are now. We are not surprising teams anymore. Exactly. LFG says, did the Lions sign 24 UDFAs who can fill the role of pass coverage linebacker? Not really. I mean, Steel Chambers is the only one that we selected so far, but hold on here. There might have been one other one that I don't know about. Meaning I don't know anything about him. And it's this Duran Gilbert. So he's from Northern Illinois. He had 51 tackles. I don't know anything about the guy. But Steel Chambers, I still laugh at that name. If I go back to his profile, his coverage grades is 77.4. It's pretty solid. It's better than his run defense grade and his pass rush grade. So he's a possibility. And Jack Campbell is actually pretty good in pass coverage. He's just learning the ropes last year. So, all right, U of M dad. I think you said you ordered your jersey too, man. You guys got to send us pics when you get these things. LFG says Lions did address needs in the last two drafts on target. All right. Not a Lions fan, but Piston something says you ran the North because no one else was there last year. That won't be the case this year. The Lions stood pat, did not separate themselves from underachieving North. Yeah, I think you're going to be surprised, buddy. Whoever you are. Wilson1 says we had a bunch of needs last year. We did. LFG says, I barely heard the name Deron Gilbert, even as a college football nerd. I don't know about Gilbert's game either. Yeah, I have no clue. Yeah, the UDFAs are practice squad bound at best, other than Chambers. Chambers is the only one that I feel, as of right now, until I do more research, he's the only one that I actually looked at. And then this Isaiah Williams, he's got a big possibility. I mean, they wouldn't feed him $240,000 of guaranteed money if there wasn't something there. He finished second to Marvin Harrison Jr. in stats last year. So those are the two options that I feel could surprise some people. We'll find out. And we're going to have to find out in the next one, because that's all for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. It's been a crazy week. Today is what, Sunday? I think it's still Sunday. I'm probably going to take a break tomorrow because I got stuff that I have to catch up on. But if I don't, you'll obviously see a thumbnail go out. Otherwise, if you don't see anything by like 7 o'clock, I probably won't be on. So, all right, you guys, I appreciate you. You guys are always great. We had a great meeting with Billy Sims today. Appreciate you guys showing up for that early this morning. I know some of you guys were probably in church or doing other things. But I appreciate you guys, taking the opportunity to watch the video, the live video that's posted now of the Billy Sims interview. We'll have more. We'll have more coming. I promise. Panay Sewell coming in May, and I'm really looking forward to that one. And much more stuff to come very soon. So, all right, let's get these sub counts up. If you guys have not subscribed yet or liked the podcast and you like the content, I urge you and would request of you just to subscribe and join us. We're trying to get to 5,000. Once we do, our first helmet comes off the board. We've got 24 mini helmets that are all going to be signed, 12 of them by Chris Spielman, 12 of them by Panay Sewell, with certificate of authenticity, and every 500 subscribers, one of them's going home to you. So do us a favor and subscribe, like the podcast, and come on back next time. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.